I'm worried about my espresso machine. I'm not.
That could be your headline.
It's not a joke.
No.
It's just I'm worried about my lathe.
Out there like
Just pillow.
who broke into my computer? Well, the back end data just exploded. I'm talking about getting rid of the machine, melt them down and turn them into prison bars.
Pillow.
I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers are lawyers. The lawyers are lawyers. The lawyers are lawyers. Get rid of the machines. I'm talking about getting rid of the machines.
Just pillow.
Who did this attack? Who did this cyber attack? So you have, the good geeks, and they patch it up and they fix it and they put up better protection, virus protection. But here's what my attorney said. He said
Just pillow. They took the pillow phone. Do you frequently go to Hardee's? Is that a common place you go?
Okay, that's pretty funny, David.
No, it's not. I'm not.
That could be your headline. The machines. I said I would have bashed through them and went to find a drive-through.
It's really incredible, the branding around that.
He said, no, you're not getting my phone. I said, arrest me. I've done nothing wrong. He said, no, we're not going to arrest you. I said, well, you can do anything. You hack in, and you can get rid of the machine. I'm talking about getting rid of the machines.
I'm worried about my pillow.
No, dude, that's the worst thing for you because your cervical nerves in your neck, I will send you some pillows.
I'm worried about my lathe.
I'm talking about getting rid of the machines.
Okay.
Melt them down and turn them into prison bars.
Just pillow.
All right,
Thanks,
sounds
Mike.
good.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Uh-oh.
Mangoes?
My bag of mangoes.
Uh-oh. I love mangoes too.
9 cents. Okay. Now that we are up under a Biden's regime, my bag of mangoes now costs $11.99.
That seems like a pretty good deal. A bag of mangoes? Aren't mangoes like $3 each? That's it. I want what? $8 or $11. That sounds good.
The American people will lie. And highway robbery is what you're doing. Bring my mangoes back down. My bag of mangoes. My bag of mangoes.
Mangoes?
My bag of mangoes. Bring my mangoes back down. Raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Bring my mangoes back down.
The Wisconsin crowd identified with the mangoes.
Disproportionately affected the American people. Those who want me to be healthy. Those who want me to be healthy. It's highway robbery is what you're doing. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit.
Mangoes?
Well, it's a very special day because we have today returning to the program Mike Lindell, CEO and inventor of MyPillow.
What? What would you like me to say, David? I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers are lawyers. What's so hard to understand? They can pull these names. It's just like every state. Every state has people that voted that don't live in the state.
Hold on, Mike.
Hold it, David. You're doing the population of Wisconsin. I have a moral compass. 2 million, you can get them. I got requests out to every single. These are right off the voter rolls. David, you're not listening. It doesn't matter who won or lost. This stuff just happened. And I'm talking about getting rid of the machines. Mike Lindell wants to get rid of the machine. Get rid of my espresso machine. The voting machine, David. Everything that can be hacked. You got, credit cards, companies get hacked. Businesses hacked. Gas companies hacked. Who did this attack? Who did this cyber attack? That's all I'm about. We can't have computers running our elections.
Mike, you've mentioned so much. Let me just make one comment here.
Nope. Melt them down and turn them into prison bars. When you have a computer, you can change one number, you can do anything. You hack in and you can affect millions. Where if you had to do the same thing with paper, you would have to have a whole cabal of people. You asked me a dumb question about getting rid of machines. If you want to be a humorous interview, get rid of my espresso machine. Give me a break. I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers are lawyers. Aaron, I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers are lawyers. Aaron, what? Aaron, you should have one of my pillows too.
We are going to take a moment to recover here from the extremely high level of energy.
I could talk to you all day about this.
Well, welcome everybody. It is indeed CPAC Day 2, kind of Day 1, because Day 1 was canceled. I streamed last night and they just didn't televise any of it. It's all very weird. They're, of course, also either running very late or it's all out of order. So let's see where we are. And then we have so many different things to talk about, clips to look at. I have video from outside CPAC, and it's just going to blow your mind. This is already a very glitchy stream, so I'll refresh it and see if we can... Why is it so glitchy? It's all crazy. But anyway, we've got a different stream here from Right Side Broadcasting. Look at how pathetic this stream is. Let's see if we turn... No, it's not even a question of turning it down. It's just all horrifyingly pathetic. Okay, so I know that Rick Scott spoke and just finished. Now, he was supposed to be done by 3:10, so he was like 40 minutes late. But things may be completely out of order. The next thing was going to be a panel, I guess you would call it, with Mercedes Schlapp, the wife of Matt Schlapp, who is accused of pummeling the junk of an intern. It's insane. They were going to do a thing about, parents with pitchforks, like parents for freedom of education or whatever it is they're talking about. At some point later, they were going to have a mass. It's insane. And then what we're really here for, of course, are some of these later events. Matt Schlapp and Chris Ruddy will be speaking. Mike Pompeo, Eric Schmitt. And today's keynote is the complete and total dangerous lunatic Candace Owens, who recently suggested a eugenics-like breeding program to be better at math. We covered that on the program not long ago. Let's listen a little bit to what Right Side Broadcasting is saying, and then we have so many things here to talk about.
That's one in my backpack.
Not gonna lie, so did I.
Okay. I learned how to play 21. I don't know if it's called 21 or blackjack.
I always called it blackjack.
Yeah, blackjack. And I was addicted, but I didn't have cash, so I was using my friend's cash, and I went through like $200 of hers.
That's a good friend.
And
Electric commentary here by Right Side Broadcasting, and we'll keep monitoring all of it. Looks like this fell off live. Okay, we're standing by for the next thing, and that should be happening very, very soon. Let's get to a couple of different things just since everybody's here. I see comments saying, David, wait, are you back in the old studio? In a sense, the old studio is now just my office, so it's still available. People thought I might have given the panels back to Sam Sater, but I didn't. I kept them. It's like now my office, but it's still available, and we were doing work in the office today, so it's all still happening, but I am not in the new studio at this exact moment in time. I don't think it'll affect us too significantly. Let's see what's going on here as far as super chats go. There we go. I think we're good as far as that goes. Will I open the phone lines today? I will absolutely open the phone lines today if we get to 100 website members and Twitch subscribers. I see some people in the chat saying that I'm being callous about sexual assault. Folks, I am not even remotely callous about sexual assault. It is a physical difficulty to not smirk a little when you hear the term pummeled my junk. It's just a funny term. There's nothing funny about sexual assault. Matt Schlapp, if he is guilty of 5% of what he was accused of, he's disgusting, okay? But you try to do a show and say pummeled my junk without laughing. It's genuinely difficult, okay? It is not even remotely minimizing the substance of it. Here's the panel on something about parents are angry. I do want to say thanks to Lily MW, Lucia Fur, Sam the Sleazebag, Shoplifting Empath, and Nasty Questions, kicking us off, putting us at 5. A big thank you to Anthony Laverpool, who just signed up on my website. Today's coupon code is CPAC Trash. I don't think that one requires much explanation. Here is Mercedes Schlapp. Let's listen to what parents are now. Their parents are angry. They're doing things. Okay.
Start with Olivia. She's actually a school board member down in Dripping Springs, Texas. And I want to ask you, why would you run to be a school board member? You came to CPAC and really got your training, and you said, I got to make a difference. So this is another example of a person who got involved when they came to CPAC and made a difference in their community.
Wow.
I ran really because of 2020. I mean, masks were really the it for me. I'm so blessed. My son's receiving an excellent education. We have a wonderful district, but 2020 kind of opened the veil of what we stand to lose and what's at risk if parents start losing rights. So I got really involved.
Yeah, parents' rights have been taken away.
Work. I love it. We have a lot to do, but 2020 was really it. I never in a million years.
So you're saying COVID lockdown, seeing the kids suffer.
Yeah. Incrementally, the shutdowns, I understood immediately what that was going to do to kids, emotionally, socially, not being in school, the stress that put on families. I saw my own son regress, but for me, it was really the masks, because the masks were the point that I would have pulled out of public schools.
Right.
You know, the masks seem like the smallest concern. Like the biggest problem was just social isolation and then no exposure to pathogens at all, where now you see all these, kids who now are like in their first year at college and they're sick for 3 months because they have no immunity to anything from having been, like it happened to my sister. Masks seem like a very irrelevant thing.
You are the messenger when it comes to school choice in Virginia. You all are working on legislation in this Commonwealth of Virginia to figure out how do we get parents to be able to be empowered to send their kids to the best schools that they want, that would be the parents' choice. How do you get this process going?
Well, first of all, we've got to get people elected who want parents to be able to have the choice to send their children to whatever school that they want. I mean, this is like a no-brainer. These children are mine. They don't belong to the state, and I am responsible for the rearing of my children.
My kids.
We don't co-parent. These are my kids. And so I want to be able to make that choice for my children, and I want everybody to have that choice. And unfortunately, there are too many of these politicians who are listening to the teachers' unions, which, by the way, they don't care as much as they say they do, because here's the thing.
I think that this panel may actually save our kids.
Dues. Because you stop paying your dues and you see how quickly they keep you in the union. Right? So this is all about the dues, and we're saying children ought to be able to have a hope and a future. And the way that starts is with a good education. Without a good education, you get nowhere, and you get there very fast. There are people who are incarcerated. 60% of them are functionally illiterate. That's what the school to prison pipeline has already started. We've got to stop that.
Well, I got to ask you, Lieutenant Governor, you're talking about, should we be for the students or should we be for the teachers' unions?
That's another no-brainer, right? This is about children and their future. We've already had our education, and we don't want our children to say to us, what did you do to make sure that I would have a good education? What did you do? And we've just got to stay involved. Those of us who are not involved, we've got to get involved, because if we keep doing the same things, you know what that means, and we get the same results, then we're part of the problem too. And the reason why we won in Virginia, number one, was because parents, and it didn't matter if they Republican.
The reason they won in Virginia was by pretending everything was about critical race theory, which wasn't actually being taught to anyone. That's how they won.
This goes beyond party lines. Ian Pryor is one of the frontline fighters when it comes to making sure that they don't push forward, that these school districts don't push.
Real principled fighter. What did he do? Take a mask off?
To indoctrinate our children. And he is also the author of the book, Parents of the World Unite, How to Save Our Schools from the Left's Radical Agenda. And the first line says, if you're reading this book, chances are you're interested in starting a parents' revolution in your own school district or neighborhood. Give us a gist of what's in this book. Why did you write it?
Well,
Antifa must be handling the audio at this event.
Parents rose up in Virginia, and we organized, and we did a good job organizing, and it took a lot of work from a lot of people that put a lot of time in.
All right, so listen, I think we get the point. The parents are angry. The parents have lost rights. The parents want freedom. Okay. So after this, we will then have Some Tough Mother is coming up next with moms. So we're going from, I guess it's just a lot of mom stuff. And then later they'll talk about euthanasia, I guess. I mean, it's all pretty horrifying. It's all pretty horrifying. So let's continue monitoring this and see what's on people's minds to some degree. Gustavo says with today's first super chat, David, sir, out of curiosity, can you speak Brazilian Portuguese? No, I cannot. I'm just not able to. I'm not able to do it. Even under duress, I would not be able to do it. Thanks to Crowbars Forever for re-upping the Twitch Prime subscription. Very much appreciate it. Let's look at a couple of other clips here of different things that have been going on around CPAC. Here's an interesting video from outside CPAC, which I know my audience will find fascinating.
Right. You guys are from Texas, correct?
All the way from Texas. We love Texas.
And they let you cross interstate borders to get here? I just want to make sure.
Sir.
And tell us about the group down in Texas. We got about a minute. Tell us about that group.
I created this group back in the summer of 2020.
Okay. So really just really heroic stuff happening there. Here is JP, right? JD Mandel. Hold on. Do I even have it here? Let me check my glitch folder.
We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel.
Here's JD Mandel speaking proudly.
That the very thing that makes this country special is that whether you're powerful or not, whether you're rich or poor, we all have equal justice under law, or at least we did until Joe Biden and his gang of thugs moved into the White House.
How did when the thugs moved into the White House, it all went away. It was horrible what happened when that took place. Here is Joe Biden asked, "When will you announce your re-election, sir?"
When will you announce your re-election, sir?
When I announce it.
All right, very clear, crystal clear, in fact, I would say. And then here is Candace Owens. This is tonight's keynote. She's the prime speaker, I guess, for today's day of CPAC. Here she is talking about who she would like to punch in the face. It might surprise you. It's not neo-Nazis. It's not child abusers. Nope. It's Zelensky.
Yep. Take a listen to Zelensky warning you of what will happen if you stop funding his lifestyle.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war. And they will have to fight because it's nature that we're talking about. And they will be dying, God forbid, because it's a horrible thing.
Okay.
Oof. I am not going to say that I'd like to punch Zelensky in the face because that's violent. But I am saying that if I could get away with punching one person in the face and have no consequences, it would be President Zelensky. I can't even tell you how much I harbor for him. The audacity to tell you that the consequence is going to be that your sons and daughters are going to fight and die if you don't help him secure a win against Russia.
That's not even really what he said. Man. So this is the revered keynote speaker who will be speaking to us later today at CPAC. So that should really be a treat. BW Rock says via Super Chat, Trump is speaking Saturday for people that are asking. Yeah. Speaking of education, did you see Jamie Raskin's grammar lessons on the use of pronouns and nouns? We all need to do this when we hear Democrat cities. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let me pull it up for people. If you haven't seen it, it really is good. Let me see if I can find it. Raskin, Democratic. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, this is really good. Jamie Raskin's great. Big fan. He's been a guest on the show and just all around good guy.
Just a brief semantic point, because the gentlelady was making a grammatical error that I heard some of her colleagues make before. I believe she referred to a Democrat solution. I heard another member talk about a Democrat member and a Democrat plan. I just wanted to educate our distinguished colleagues that Democrat is the noun. When you use it as an adjective, you say the Democratic member or the Democratic solution or the Democratic plan. And so I assume it's a good faith grammatical error the first few times. But after people are corrected several times and they continue to say it, it seems like it's an act of incivility.
Yes.
As if every time we mentioned the other party, it just came out with a kind of political speech impediment like, oh, the Banana Republican Party. As if we were to say that every time we mentioned the Banana Republican member or the Banana Republican plan or the Banana Republican Conference. But we wouldn't do that. So out of pure political courtesy, when it's an adjective, refer to the Democratic Congresswoman or the Democratic member. Having said that, I'd like to say that I favor the Boebert amendment. I think it's really the Raskin amendment because none of them apparently caught the fact that their reporting requirement wasn't to be published.
All right, I think we get the point. So very, very well said there by Jamie Raskin, pointing out the absurdity of that. Daniel says, walked into an adult novelty store accidentally and saw they were out of caca swords, a very in-demand item. Yeah, this is my favorite clip potentially of the year. This was Vernon Jones trying to hearken back to the racist ideology of the 1780s about three races, Mongoloid, Caucasoid, and Negroid. And he failed to even say them correctly, and he coined two exciting new terms, which are monogord and cock a sword.
This is what he said yesterday.
Look at this.
He said, at this church, I'm a white boy, but I'm not stupid. Vernon, I mean, where'd that come from?
Let me drop back for a second. First of all, Jason, my good friend, being Latino is no race. There's only three races, monogord, Caucasoid.
Yep. Monogord and Caucasoid. Any monogords in my audience? Anybody? Anybody at all? Looks like a couple. 2, 3. Okay. Any Caucasoids in my audience? Everybody. Okay. Yeah. Most people are saying I'm a Caucasoid. Yep. It's so deranged.
So, Jason, my good friend, being Latino is no race. There's only three races, monogord, Caucasoid, and Negroid. But liberals create this whole new class or a new race called Latinos. They are no race. And it is very clear. He did say that Hispanics are more diverse in their thinking than African American, not diverse in where they come from. As a matter of fact, Spaniards have nothing to do with Mexicans, and they all speak the same.
I mean, other than like conquering and interbreeding
language. But again, liberals created this race and made it unique based on you speaking Hispanic.
I speak Hispanic. You speak Hispanic. They speak Hispanic. Very, very exciting. Really at the forefront of racial scholarship there, Vernon Jones, as you can see. Trump endorsed that guy. All right, let's go back to a little bit of this panel about all of the rights that parents are losing. I want to say thanks to Andrew D'Angelo for signing up at joinpacman.com. Folks, with peace and love, today's coupon code is CPAC Trash. CPAC Trash. If we get to 100 website members and Twitch subscribers, we will again open the phone lines. I also want to say thanks to Caretaker 909, who's new member number 14 today. This feed very, very glitchy, but this one is good. Let's listen.
I will say that the scope of the law may be changing here. In the Fourth Circuit, which is where we are, there was a case, Grimm versus Gloucester County School Board, which the Fourth Circuit, 2 judges with 1 dissenting, held that a student has the equal protection right to use the bathroom of the gender that they identify with, which creates a lot of problems when you're in the Fourth Circuit because they will, a student will say, well, I have this equal protection right. But at the end of December, the 11th Circuit Federal Court of Appeals, in a 7-4 decision, said, well, not in the 11th Circuit. So in the 11th Circuit, they held that Title IX says that if you have sex-segregated bathrooms, they must be sex-segregated on biological sex, and there is no equal protection right to use a bathroom that does not correspond with your biological sex.
Now, we all know there have been so many problems with bathrooms the country over. It's just there's constant instances of, harassment and assault and epithets And it's been such a problem in blue states that just say, just use whatever bathroom corresponds to your gender identity. It's just police reports, hundreds and, oh wait, there have been no issues whatsoever. Maybe this isn't really that big of a problem.
Not support their child and their gender fluidity, and the child wants puberty blockers.
Right, and that was the bill she introduced in 2020 in the Virginia legislature. So effectively, if you as a parent do not agree with whatever your child is saying, and you don't take her to the clinic to get puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones or to get surgery, or you just don't even let her identify at school as a boy, you can be investigated by Child Protective Services and arrested.
Okay. Is that happening? No. The other thing is they like to mix all of this stuff together. They're like, oh, bathrooms, surgeries, and arrests and crimes and drag queens and all these. It's like, wait, hold on. Let's back it up a second. The bathroom thing is not a problem. No matter what gender identity you adhere to, it's illegal to go into a bathroom or locker room and photograph people. You can't harass people. You can't sexually assault people. So okay, that's one issue. Secondly, they go, oh, prepubescent girls are having their breasts chopped off. Prepubescent girls don't have breasts. What are you chopping off? Doesn't make any sense. We then get to puberty blockers. Now, listen, let's be very honest about this. There is a question as to what are the long-term effects of puberty blockers, even if only temporarily. There are questions about the impact on rates of osteoporosis and bone density among girls, eventually women who take puberty blockers. Let's look at that. Of course, why wouldn't we look at that? But don't wrap it up with bathrooms. Don't wrap it up with crimes. Don't wrap it up with surgeries, arrests of parents. They don't, whether these people understand what's going on or not, they know their audience certainly doesn't understand it. And that's why they continue to repeat these obviously untrue narratives.
Your state representatives are ensuring that from a state level.
Lieutenant Governor, let me ask you, as you've encountered obviously the opposition from Democrats, but you've also run into a problem with Republicans and kind of their strange relationship with some teacher unions. What is happening?
Well, sometimes, unfortunately, people get afraid of the teachers' unions because they're huge and they can work against you. But the reason why we do things, as John F. Kennedy said, it's not because they're easy, it's because they're hard. And I would add it's because they're righteous. And if I have to lose the next election so that the children can get an opportunity for a good education, I'll do it. Because children need a future. It's not about maintaining a seat. It's about our children and their future. And without, Abraham Lincoln.
There are caucasoids identifying as monogords all over the state of Virginia.
Is the philosophy of the classroom in the government. Think about that. And so that's why we have to keep fighting. And I would put it to you that this is the new Brown versus Board of Education fight. This is what it's all about. Parents again, being able to choose where their children should be able to go to school.
Right. And so that's like the full circle, which is we want charter schools and we want a voucher with which you can choose to defund public schools a little bit at a time, if that's what you so choose. Has nothing to do with gender identity in reality, has nothing to do with CRT or wokeness or Black history courses or any of it. What they really want at the end of the day is, how can we find any way to weaken public education? And then later, of course, they complain, we're really not that good at math. All you're doing is weakening education. How could we possibly be good at math if that's the case? Austin says via Super Chat, David, sir, when is the next DPAC? Maybe we could have a panel on whether it's a historian or an historian. It would be more useful than CPAC. It absolutely would be more useful than CPAC. We still have Mike Pompeo, who's going to speak. We have Candace Owens, Some people call her Candace Owens because she's just full of hot air, just blowing hot air all over the place. Worthless, worthless nonsense. I do want to say thank you to Deeper Shades of House, Elevated Disc Golf, Emily, Bowflex Man, all who have just re-upped Twitch Prime subscriptions, putting us at 18. Today, you can use the coupon code CPAC Trash to get a dramatically discounted membership on my website, joinpacman.com. Hit that red sign up button. It's an amazing, amazing thing. I'll keep shouting out people who do. Let me see what else I had here that I wanted to go over. Do I have anything else to say about the Glenn Greenwald attacks on me? No, on yesterday's stream, I did a segment about Glenn Greenwald and Brianna Joy Gray going after me. Since that segment, Brianna Joy Gray has deleted her tweet about me, but we screenshotted it. We have it. And then I did a segment today on it. I don't know that I really have more to say. It was all about Marianne Williamson and my commentary about it. All right. This panel, thankfully, is over. And the next panel, what is next on the agenda? According to this, the next panel is Some Tough Mother with Sandy Rios, lunatic, Penny Nance from Concerned Women for America, dangerous, pathetic group, Abby Johnson And Then There Were None, no idea who that is, and Kimberly Fletcher from Moms for America. So the moms very soon are going to let us know what they think, and it's going to be, I'm sure, very, very powerful. Thanks to Nikki for the Twitch Prime subscription. Appreciate that. I have been meaning to, hold on, where are we at on this? Oh, yeah. Okay. Voicemails. Let's do a couple. Oh, actually, you know what? They're starting this pretty quick. Let's listen. I do want to see how crazy this panel is. Oh, my God.
Let it fall off. Well, good afternoon. I'm going to take issue with
Disastrous audio. I mean, just absolutely a joke.
panel. No. This is the best panel. Right, girls?
Right.
Yes. All right.
That's right.
You have
Take
no
this
idea
as
what we're
challenge.
talking about, do you? Based on the title. I thought that title threw me. But we're actually talking about today defending human dignity. Now, think about that. If you were going to talk about that, what would you say? Well, of course, I'm supposed to lead the panel, so I had to kind of think about this. But it's interesting that the left...
They don't even know what the panel's about.
Their definition of it is that it has to do with wealth and position. Like, think of Downton Abbey. Dignified, dignity. And so they think they discovered human dignity, the real meaning of it, in 1948 with the UN Declaration of Human Rights. But they forgot that there was this thing called the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths self-evident that all men are created equal and they're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. There's dignity. Dignity comes from our worth and it comes from God, ultimately, if you believe in God, and most of us do, certainly all of us on this panel. And they also forgot that several centuries earlier than that, something went like this in the Bible in Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, all in one in Christ, all the same. So it was actually God's idea. I thought I'd mention that. And he is the one who creates us in his image and gives us a certain worth and dignity. So then what does that mean for now? When I was thinking about this, I thought about the ways that we have lost our dignity. And I just thought I would just supply a few that you might remember. Does anyone remember COVID? Does anybody remember the way people treated each other about masking?
Donate plasma today, please.
Does anybody have any problem in their family on account of that? Was there any
Supposing
disrespect?
we hit the body with a
lack of
tremendous,
dignity shown?
very powerful light.
Has anybody watched the Academy Awards or Super Bowl halftime lately? Or did you keep your children away from it because it was beneath dignity? It was not what God had in mind when he created us in his image. How about social media? How about those posts that are so vitriolic that they dehumanize and destroy?
Most of those posts are from her side.
Bodies that God created in his image through transgender surgeries. How about that kind of indignity?
Oh, God.
And how about the disrespect of human life?
CPAC 1950 is where we are.
of dignity, the loss of human dignity. So our panelists are going to talk about this in different ways. And I think, first of all, I'll go to Abby, because Abby, as you know, her story is that she was a Planned Parenthood director and left because she actually had to help on an abortion. That's, if you don't know her story, I wanted you to know this. So Abby, abortion is something that you know a great deal about, more than probably most of us. So in what ways do you see now, in the practice of abortion, whatever it is, the loss of human dignity?
Well, I think we're seeing it greatly right now in our country with the expansion of medication abortion in particular. Our current administration, Biden,
Almost all abortions have been medication abortions for a really long time.
essentially greenlit abortion into the home of every woman across the country.
What?
With the expansion of medication abortion into all pharmacies across this country. I'm not sure that we really know what all of the ramifications are going to be because of that. We're talking about women going...
Well, people who seek an abortion will hopefully be able to do that safely, would be the primary repercussion.
Any sort of medical supervision, taking these pills, not really knowing what's going to happen to their bodies, not really understanding what's going to happen inside of their womb. They're passing these babies into the toilet.
It's pretty damn well understood, actually, what happens.
Pregnancy, possibly hemorrhaging in their bathroom, unable to get to an emergency care facility, looking in...
By the way, a lot of the emergency care facilities they talk about are just places where they convince you not to get an abortion.
What do I do with this fully formed baby? What do I do with this child? Do I scoop this child up out of the toilet? Do I take this child to be buried? What do I do with it? Do I flush my child down the toilet?
These people are truly sick. These are disgusting people. I know that to some in the audience, you might be saying, what the hell is happening here? This is standard anti-abortion rhetoric. Scaremongering. Acting as though extraordinarily safe medications are unsafe. This is what they do. This is what they do. It's quite literally nonsense.
Country. And the left will say that this is progress for women, but I would say that creating abortion facilities in every woman's home, I would say that flushing babies down the toilets because of these chemical abortions, I would say that this is not progress.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times.
All right, I couldn't resist. These people are sick, okay? And they've lost the country more than at any time since Roe v. Wade. Americans are, generally speaking, for abortion being legal in most cases. So they've lost on this. It's not even close. They've lost on this. TIGQ says via an extremely powerful super chat, what's the difference between the Republican National Convention and CPAC? CPAC is not organized by the Republican Party. That's the main difference. Why does CPAC go to other countries? That I couldn't tell you. It is a very strange thing. Thanks to Hallowed Grounds for re-upping your Twitch Prime subscription. You're number 20 today. Huge thank you to Johnny Minogue and Taryn Erickson for signing up on my website, joinpacman.com. We're here for the next several hours. There are a number of unhinged, dangerous, and ignorant speakers tonight, and they will only get more unhinged and ignorant as the days go, culminating with what I can only expect to be a very strange, confused speech from Donald Trump on Saturday. Last night was day one, even though they kind of like canceled it, but we still did a stream and we opened phone lines. I will open phone lines again today if we simply get to 100 members and Twitch subscribers. We're at 22 out of 100 percentage-wise. Let me see what that is. 2 divided by 10 would be 0.2. And then 0, and then 2 divided by 10, 24% of the way there, I think we are. Is 22 out of 100, 24% of the way? It is hard to do it just intuitively like that.
Women and looks at women. I mean, talk about the ultimate sexism.
Sexism.
I mean, they think
men could do everything better than women, including being women.
What is sexizzle?
Rachel Levine as, the Woman of the Year by USA Today, right? Or, Chelsea Clinton just wrote a children's book and recognized Rachel Levine, who is the Biden administration appointee, who's a biological man. They've done everything they can possibly do to take away the trophies and the scholarships for women, the few little set-asides that we have in businesses. Concerned Women for America knows what a woman is. And so do the American people. And apparently we need to tell our president.
Very good.
But we've got to stand up for the dignity and the unique dignity of American women.
I want to add to that. Thank you. That's wonderful. I want to add a counter to that.
One of the things maybe people in the audience have an answer to this. They're obsessed with, use the bathroom that aligns with your birth genitalia, assuming you were not born intersex. Okay, fine. So we'll put intersex out of it. Use the bathroom that aligns with your birth genitalia. Do they think that it makes sense for someone like, for example, Blair White? Look up Blair White if you don't know who she is. Are they saying the logical thing to keep everybody calm and to keep everything low key is for Blair White to use a men's room? Like, is that, I've not seen any of them actually address that question, because that doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, what actually is it that they think should happen in those situations, in those circumstances? I've not heard a single one of these people actually answer that. It just doesn't really make any sense.
Well, I think
you want to see chaos, right? I mean, to some degree, I'm kind of joking here and being tongue in cheek. You want to see chaos? Send Blair White into the men's room, right?
And Supreme, and what they're
or Chaz Bono reverse, yeah, absolutely.
to us as women, as moms, they've been very successful in replacing fathers with the government, and what they're doing is trying to steal the hearts and minds of our children, because they have a whole new world they're creating, and they know historically that's what you do. That's what Hitler did. That's what Mao did. That's what Stalin did. You take the children, you win the future. So we as parents have got to stand up. First of all, we have to know what's coming our way. If you guys think that you know what's happening in the classrooms, you just have a smidgen of what's happening in the classrooms. It would make your skin crawl to know what our children are being exposed to. And the irony of the fact that we have parents who are mothers who are going into these school districts reading.
We have parents who are mothers. That's really the revelation.
Against women, against children. It's violence, it's aggressiveness, it's everything that is anti-humane. And they're exposed to these things. The parents come and read them in the school board meetings, and we have moms that are literally being handcuffed because the school board members are saying, you can't say that here. It's on public TV.
All right. Very good. So we've got a sense of this panel now. Let's continue to check out what's next. Apparently after this, there's going to be, it just says Mass. Now, I don't know if that means Catholic Mass. Oh, no. Okay, so that's in a different room. So in the main ballroom, we're going to have, oh no, God, Stephen Moore. Stephen Moore is truly horrible. He's now the co-founder of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. Dear God. So that's coming up next. And then a couple later, it'll be Matt Schlapp with Chris Ruddy. I mentioned yesterday, it's so funny. Chris Ruddy, the CEO of Newsmax, has privately sent me messages telling me he really likes what I do. I'm not claiming he's a liberal or anything. It's just kind of like a little interesting behind the scenes trivia sort of thing. Okay, couple things. J. Cole, who just re-upped a YouTube membership for 10 months. Love your show. Been following you for many years. Laughed, cried, and enjoyed the banter. So glad you are growing. Well, thank you, J. Cole. Great to have you here. Always great to see you. I want to say thanks to Chunky Strudel, Indeciso, Copper Bunny, and Pilot Dog for re-upping Twitch Prime subscriptions. Also, Jeffahena with the Twitch Prime subscription number 27. And remember, we have the coupon code CPAC Trash. In all seriousness, you all know January and February have been very tough from the standpoint of YouTube because of what's going on with that January 9th cataclysmic event. I won't explain it again, but we really are extra dependent right now on people who go to the website, hit that sign up button. The website is joinpacman.com. coupon code CPAC trash. It's an insane coupon code. Okay, just an absolute look at this. And you can also do monthly. I will shout everybody out. Also, that directly funds the Spanish channel, which is now at nearly 2,000 subscribers. We're doing our content in Spanish for the Spanish-speaking community. Hard to think of a more important thing to do right now, especially given the role that Florida is going to play in the 2024 election. So a lot of really, really, really important things happening. And then what else did I have? Okay, will I take phone calls? If we get to 100 website members and Twitch subscribers, we will open the phone lines. We had some great phone calls yesterday. And, couple of voicemails. Yeah, let's do just a couple of voicemails real quick, just because, we still have them. A lot of these are not very good, I have to tell you. But let me play like one voicemail.
Hey, David, I hate to be that guy, but on your segment on yesterday's show regarding Candace Owens talking about breeding children to be better at math, you mentioned that, many of her colleagues wanted to abolish the Department of Energy. I think you meant to say the Department of Education.
I did. That was a mistake. I think we've been talking about the Department of Education in the context of that COVID report. I meant in the context of Candace's breeding eugenics idea. I meant the Department of Education, not the Department of Energy. And I am always glad to be corrected on those issues. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, let's just go back to this for a little bit.
Media, be bold, be loud, be offensive if you have to. Use your voice.
All right. If you can, Penny.
Yes. Well, quickly. I love my sisters here, and you're right. Fight every single day. But I do want to give you a little glimmer of hope. Naomi Wolf, who is, I think she's Jewish. She used to be an atheist. She wrote this beautiful piece on Substack that I was reading this morning.
This is like someone who doesn't understand. She's Jewish, but she used to be an atheist. This is someone who doesn't even understand what Judaism is.
Christian nation, there are no vacuums. Something will fill it. And she talks about how the old religions, the old gods, Baal and Moloch, the god of death, are moving in, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it right now, and it is satanic. But the truth is,
that's mental illness. It's considered legitimate political discourse by many in this country. That is a mentally ill thing to say. It is a paranoid delusion, and there are psychiatrists who would try to medicate that belief.
you're seeing it happen all over this country. Last year, Liberty University, same thing. The Holy Spirit is alive and well, and where there is Satan, God is stronger. Amen. And so we lean into that, but we're not letting anybody off the hook. Everybody here has to fight, tell the truth, be loud, go to your school board meetings, stand in front of the clinics and invite young women to have a better solution. Invite them to your home, care for the least of these.
Excellent. Kimberly, can you keep it to a minute?
Yes, I will keep it really simple. Women are the ones destroying this country. Women are the ones who can repair it. We, as conservative women of faith, have not been voting. We've not been actively engaging in our communities. We haven't paid attention to what's happening in our school boards and our classrooms. And the whole entire time, those who are trying to destroy.
I thought it was Satan that was destroying the country. The previous lady said it's Satan, and this woman says it's women destroying it.
We need, she's right. Yeah. There is no void that it doesn't just stay there. We need to fill it back up with all the good things. That's the true story of America, the story of their birth, the children, that they love that. Let's give them back the things that they have lost.
All we need to really complete this event is this.
Years. That's just praising and worshiping right now. Yeah, gladly. We praise you, Lord. Thank you, Holy Father. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. It's so good to see Harold Olive.
Folks, that's not Italian, I will warn you. I know you probably didn't notice, but that's not actually happening at CPAC. That's a different video of someone speaking in tongues. Eugene says via a very generous super chat, David, sir, I prefer Candace Owens to Candace Blowens. Okay, well, I will take all of those names under advisement. Thanks to Peter Parker and Sterling Lana and Napoleon Blonaparty for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. That puts us at 30. Also, a huge thank. Listen to, folks, look at what these people are doing on my website. Patricia Ferguson just signed up with the code CPAC Trash. Robert Laplace just used the code. Bo Paulson just used the code. And Aaron Held signing up with the coupon code CPAC Trash on my website, putting us at 34. We may have the phones open before they even complete one exorcism.
That we lack the worth. He gives it already, but to reclaim it and act upon it. And so with that, how do we do? How do we do? Okay, good. Oh, we've got 28 seconds left.
Well, can I just throw out one thing? We determine the level of humanity.
There's only one thing missing from this panel.
And we will ban men.
Of humanity that we have right now. We as women be the best that we can be, rise up, lift the culture, and bring back the human dignity that we need in our country.
Good. And act worthy of the calling. Don't degrade yourselves.
Yeah.
Sexually.
Like by appearing on panels like this.
Stop degrade with your language. Reclaim that grace, that greatness that God has given you at your birth. Reclaim that. And I think you're absolutely right, Kimberly. With that, we are out of time. So thank you so much.
Another incredible panel. Jabba the Hutt via Super Chat says, ready for the lunacy. Well, we're seeing it. The Herman Cain Award says all these nicknames for Candace Owens are silly when everyone knows it's blackface Tomi Lahren. That's pretty aggressive. Okay, let's see what is coming up next. Next is Stephen Moore talking about healthcare, which I'm sure will be extraordinarily informative, and that'll be next, I guess, or something. Okay. Shorty has re-upped a YouTube subscription and says, sir, I missed you. Well, it's great to be back. 2 days in a row of streaming for the first time in months. And then we are hopefully going to go to number 3 in a row tomorrow and 4 in a row on Saturday. A lot of questions about what's going on with the mustache. I am ready and willing to move to the next phase of the facial hair. We will eventually get all the way back to the beginning. In my mind, the next phase of the facial hair is a goatee. Now, I will go to that next. I don't know when, but we're going to go to that next. And people are angry about it or people like it and all these different things. I don't care. Okay, it's a process. It's a process. We've done the mustache for a few weeks. We're next going to be going to the goatee, and that'll start, I don't know, at some point. Michelle Frattaroli just signed up on my website with the coupon code CPAC Trash and is new member number 35 today. Very much appreciate that. How many subscriptions for a half mustache? Okay, here's the deal I will make. If we get to 250 subscriptions today, I will do tomorrow's stream with half a mustache. I will shave half the mustache and do tomorrow's stream with half a mustache. And I know it'll cause all sort of satanic panic and all of that stuff, but we will look into doing that if that is the case. John Hickey, welcome. John Hickey, our newest member on the website, using the coupon code CPAC Trash as well. And Jen here, gifting a subscription on Twitch, which I very much appreciate. I believe that the next session is with Stephen Moore, and it is about healthcare. My guess is he will talk about how great for-profit healthcare is. I don't know. But that's just my prediction. Welcome, Hippie Chick. Thanks for the Twitch Prime subscription. Nick Butler says, David, sir, please bless us with Trump audio glitches. Yeah, I've got some Trump. Let's see. Where are the audio glitches? Hold on.
You know, Mike did me on 60 Minutes.
That's not it. Hold on. Where is it? Where are the audio glitches? Don't know that I can find them here. Man, where are those audio glitches? I'll have to look for those. Let's listen to this great panel first.
Really the architect of the tax plan. And so
Don't
excited.
you miss Donald Trump? Come on, let's face it. Is he great or what?
Is he great or what?
And we have Phil Kerpen, who is a true warrior on this issue and many others, who is head of American Commitment. And we're gonna get right into it today. So over the last 10 years, what have we been talking about with health care? It's been Obamacare. It's about repeal and replace. It's about getting drug prices down, and what President Trump tried to do. And I served at HHS, and Secretary Azar tried hard to get those drug prices down. Mandates.
He tried really hard but failed.
But what a lot of people haven't really focused on is what happened right before the election, which was this IRA and the drug pricing and healthcare provisions in there passed by the Democrats and their interest groups. So today we're going to talk about one of those interest groups and talk about that IRA, mislabeled the Inflation Reduction Act, with our friends here. So let's start with Phil. Phil, most people see that AARP as the group that has that nice, slick magazine, that has the discounts for seniors. They've sort of transformed themselves, though, into this marketing entity with an advocacy arm, and they make a lot of money from their relationships. Tell us about these royalties they make. I've heard that they've made upward of $8 billion since 2007.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. The membership dues that they collect are now a tiny fraction, just a little over 10% of the revenue that they have on an annual basis. The principal business that they're in is not representing seniors, it's monetizing seniors. It's selling branded products to seniors, and in particular, their cash cow are the health insurance products, the Medicare Part D plans, the Medicare Advantage plans, but especially the Medigap supplemental insurance plans that they sell exclusively United Health products, and they've got an exclusive deal with United.
Listen, I'm fine with this critique, but where is the panel criticizing the NRA, which also claims to be just a group who helps gun owners? Where's the critique of the NRA because they bring in $300 million a year and are part of all sorts of special interest groups, and it's very cherry picked.
And pulls it out and takes it for their general operating purposes. And I think that's what you call a junk fee. I mean, it seems to be the only junk fee that the Democrats and the president like, though, because so much of that money gets recycled into liberal advocacy and democratic politics. And so what you have is sort of the confluence of a notional nonprofit, but that's running billions of dollars through it, from a corporate partnership.
Oh, like the NRA.
Always seems to benefit one political party.
Steve, let's
just like the NRA.
Have one of the biggest players in Washington by total number of members and what we've just heard about their budget. How does that, in your opinion, how does that compromise them as someone who's supposed to be this sort of fair dealer in Washington representing America's seniors? What does that do to them?
Well, look, I call AARP American Association of Ripping Off Taxpayers, right? And I hope, and one of the reasons I wanted to be here and come to talk to you folks, because we have
so clever
senior citizens in this room, we have a lot of young people. Can we all make a pact? We're never going to join the AARP. There's no way are we going to join the AARP. I just turned 63, so I'm getting all these mailers every month. Join up for the AARP.
Most of the mailers he gets are about how not to have your tie be way too long. Okay, let's step away from this a little bit and look at a couple of other things. Let's just check where we are here in the agenda. Coming up next will be 87,000 pink slips about, I don't know, I guess the IRS. Then it will be Matt Schlapp and Chris Ruddy, where it will start to get interesting. Then we'll speak to hear from Mike Pompeo, Eric Schmitt, and then Candace Owens will close out tonight, which I am sure is just going to be riveting and electric. And they are, probably a couple hours behind. Crimson Watch says via Super Chat, beautiful to see CPAC trash return, one of the best coupon codes ever created, and began my humble journey as a Pacman subscriber. F CPAC. Absolutely. Is that George Costanza from Seinfeld? This guy here. Yeah. Yes, it is. Absolutely, it is. Big thank you to Zach Langford, Matt Stone, and Ryan Bila for signing up on my website, putting us at 63 new members for the day. This feed continues to be glitchy, so we will stay over here. Let me see what. Oh, if you'll allow me to just briefly step away, Dave Rubin, who, by the way, I didn't think Rubin was still doing his YouTube channel or like doing anything, because I haven't come across any of Dave Rubin's content for a couple years now. Dave Rubin defended Scott Adams' racist rant. Scott Adams, of course, the Dilbert guy, who I used to like, and, you know, he's been on the show and he's since blocked me, and it's all crazy. Here is Dave Rubin's take on Scott Adams. I have not heard this before.
Richard says, what are your thoughts on the Scott Adams controversy? Was he wrong? So if you have not heard about this, there's a major controversy involving Scott Adams. First off, I like Scott Adams. I consider him a friend. He is a good man. Let me just put that there, period.
He's like, I'm completely biased and basically just address my thoughts based on who I'm friends with and like not losing friends. So understanding that I am a completely unfair arbiter of what Scott Adams said, let me now deliver my view.
Scott, by the way, we got him involved in locals. He loved it so much immediately, very early on. He was like, hey, I'd love to invest. Can I throw some money into this thing? Because I really believe in it. And he's...
Oh, so he's an investor. We're now going to hear... We're now going to hear an analysis of whether Scott Adams' racist rant was racist from a guy who was paid by Scott Adams. Genius, absolute genius.
He put his money where his mouth is, and he's just a good man.
Yeah.
The controversy basically is this. There was a video going viral where produced by a leftist organization with a series of black people basically, in essence, saying they don't like white people, and here's why. And it was promoted by this lefty organization, okay? And Scott watched it, and then he also saw this. There was this other poll that basically 50% of black Americans think it's wrong to be white.
It's Dave Rubin really has a gift for clearly explaining premises, as you can tell.
I don't know how accurate the poll is. You know my feelings about polls in general. But he watched this video and then that poll, and then what he commented on his live stream. He does this live stream on Locals all the time. Well, he does a live stream all over the place, but now he's being canceled left and right, so I think it'll probably be exclusive on Locals soon enough. In essence, what he said was, my advice to white people would be not to go to areas where there are a bunch of people who hate you, going off the information he had just heard. He did not say anything racist. He did not say, I don't like black people. He didn't say, you shouldn't like black people or anything like that. He was taking a certain set of information that he had heard and then
He actually said he considers black people a hate group.
What is the reality of this? If these people want special laws for one race and another laws for another race, we used to call that racist, right? Imagine, let's say 50% of Germans said that, you shouldn't like Jews. You think there would be a problem there? So again, putting aside the percentages on this and everything else, all he said was, my advice to you would be, well, you wouldn't want to move into a neighborhood like that. Anyway, a bunch of newspapers canceled Dilbert. He got his book with Penguin.
This isn't the crux of what Scott Adams said, obviously.
Which is my publisher, the publisher I've used in the past. I suspect I will not be using them again. He got his next book canceled by them and a whole bunch of other stuff. But he wisely is on Rumble and Locals. Anyway, I think he's a good dude. He's inflammatory, and he's intentionally inflammatory, and he likes poking the bear. That's part of what he does, but he is not a racist. Silly nonsense.
Okay. Anyway, so Dave Rubin is fine with what Scott Adams said. Very exciting. Super chats are coming in. Brett Cohen says, David, why is it now both parties obfuscate and conflate data with ease and the public laps it up in ignorance for the most simplistic incitement? Well, listen, one of the things, I don't hide the fact that I'm on the left. I never hide that on this program. But one of the things I make every effort not to do is not to play partisan games with statistics. When we talk about debt and deficit, gas prices, inflation, unemployment, whatever, I don't play these games where I talk about it one way depending on who's president and another way depending on who's president. And I can't speak for others, but that's what I try to do, Brett. Discman says, David, sir, always a pleasure to watch your YouTube huge streams, bigger than China. And I know streams, believe me, I've streamed more than anyone's ever seen before, but they don't want to talk about that. That's right. The fake news media won't tell you about streams. Narrator says, when liberals don't keep the same energy on calling Candace Owens black-faced, that they would if a conservative called Obama black-faced. Obama. It's a reminder that for some liberals, anti-racism is just another tokenization of us. I read something that said black-faced, not a term that I use pejoratively or tongue-in-cheek or whatever. So I don't know. That must be meant for the person who said that. I don't know. Sager says, sir, with tears in my eyes, I'm asking you, do you have plans to visit Australia? If you do, I strongly suggest you stay in Melbourne. It is the coffee capital of the world and Australia's cultural capital. I would love to go to Australia soon. And I have to say, as interested as I am in going to Australia, I'm really interested in going to New Zealand. Not like competing or comparing or anything like that, but two places I would very much like to visit. I want to say a big thank you to Keo Bradley, as well as Teresa West, who signed up with our great coupon code CPAC Trash. We have a goal of 100 website members and Twitch subscribers. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free Twitch Prime subscription. You can use it right now if you're watching on Twitch. It'll push us closer. We'll open phone lines if we get to 100 as we wait for the speeches to continue. Let's see if I can squeeze in like one more voicemail here as we wait for more interesting speeches and the entire thing. Let's see what I've got here. A lot of very, very mediocre stuff, but let's listen to this one.
Hi, David. I just had a question about your new Spanish-speaking channel. You recently referenced in one of your live streams that you are doing the overdubs because you don't have enough hours in the day to record your show in English and then re-record in Spanish, which is totally understandable. But I was wondering, since you're doing the overdubbing and paying presumably for the overdubbing for the Spanish
and that is not cheap, by the way. That is not cheap.
Channel. I was wondering if you've considered doing maybe like once a week or something, doing a show in Spanish and having it overdubbed into English.
Oh, you know, I really don't have time for anything extra. I really don't. And we have so many ideas come in, and I get it. I could always be doing more, but I just really can't. I've got to set the limits somewhere. And one of the things I've been working on is setting those limits and not taking on more. I mean, listen, I should also like improve my French a little and maybe do it in French too. I don't know. Occam's Taser and Ryan83 have just re-upped Twitch Prime subscriptions, pushing us towards 67 as Stephen Moore continues to rant and rave. Let's listen to a couple of other voicemails as we start to get into the thick and meaty part of today's CPAC day. Let's see what else I have as far as voicemails go. The voicemails have been very, very weak lately. People are asking for something from Whitney. Let me see if I can find something from her. It is really, really tough right now from the standpoint of voicemails. Let's see if we can find something that might titillate to some degree. A lot of problem callers that will call 10 times in a row. They mostly just get auto deleted. It's just like, we just can't even keep up with that, you know? We're super, super busy. I'm not seeing anything from Whitney lately. Oh, hold on. Here's something from Whitney. Let's see.
So I have an aunt. She's like helping me with my finances and stuff like that.
Nice.
And she's not like really brilliant.
Fair.
She's been able to just kind of like keep her head like a little bit over water, but she also has a husband. Mm-hmm. So it's like I have to put that into context with me not really having a husband.
Right.
I have like a life partner who sort of helps me with some things.
That's nice.
But anyways, she's like telling me about how when she talks to lawyers, like, oh, she knows like a little bit of lawyer jargon. And, you know, I was just thinking to myself, like, these standards that these women hold to us, meanwhile, they have husbands who, like, you know, speak for extremely a lot. I've noticed that, like, you know, when a man with a deep voice says something like the same way that I do, he gets it. Like, I don't know, like if something's wrong in the apartment or something like that, then I would have to like.
Listen, a lot's going on over at Whitney's place. It's sort of beyond the scope of this show to really deal with that. But I do think it's very interesting what's going on over there. Mephisto has just subscribed via Twitch Prime and is new member number 68. I very much appreciate that. Let's listen a little more to ranting and raving about the AARP as we are about to get into sort of the crux of today's speeches. I would love to see Whitney speaking at CPAC for sure.
They don't tell you what they cost, and then you get the bill and you pass it on to the insurance company. So why not have them require these doctors and hospitals to post the price so when we know what we're paying for, right? I mean, it's like going into a store and saying, oh, I love that dress and I'm going to buy it, and you don't know how it costs. And, you know, it's just so infuriating to me the way government screws everything up. I know this is a little bit off topic, but, you know, there was a headline today in the newspaper that global
the entire panel's off topic.
Greenhouse gas emissions were the highest they've ever been in history. We've spent $100 billion for the last 20 years trying to reduce carbon emissions, and they're higher now than ever before. And why is that? Because, of course, China. And so all of these bills that the Democrats spend more and more money on, and now Biden wants another $500 billion for green energy programs. I say, hell no, not one more penny for that crap.
I think supposedly Milton Friedman once said if you put the government in charge of the Sahara, you'd have a shortage of sand.
Well,
something like that.
It's this. You know, Milton Friedman used to say this. So you notice this, folks? Every time we have a government program that's not working, what do the Democrats say?
We have
to spend more money. Have you noticed that?
They always reward
failure. Why don't we shut down half these damn agencies? They are not working, and balance the budget and return the money to the taxpayers.
Here's my
Steve Moore on fire. We see him on Fox, but you on fire today.
Let me just use this last minute we have to answer your question. I would urge Republicans to be much bolder than whatever they think the boldest thing they can get on health care is.
Yes.
We've got, for the last
Someone just said that this guy's in his 30s. That can't possibly be true.
Record low inpatient utilization. People were scared to go to the hospital. They were scared to go to doctors. We had people dying of heart attacks and strokes because of lies from public health officials who made them think there was no room for them. And then we bailed out these hospitals over and over and over again with our healthcare money. And so I think we need to take on the hospitals. We need to take on the insurance companies. We need to take on the government bureaucrats. We need to say we're going to have a functioning system where you control your own healthcare dollars and there's real competition, not one health system that dominates everything in town, because we made the bureaucracy so bad that you can't run an independent physician's practice anymore because you can't deal with all of the government. So I think blow up as much of it as you can, put people in charge of their own health care, and get physicians back in charge of running their own practices, not
One
just...
of the interesting things about CPAC, if I may, is that, you know, it really is a layperson crowd. And what I mean by that is, like, anybody can go to CPAC. It's not an event for activists. It's not an event for elected officials or any of that stuff. And they don't really have any prescriptions, for lack of a better term, for what people should even be doing to try to like achieve these goals. So like blow up this system, blow up that system, and then these Marxists, and then these school boards and all these different things. Now, thank goodness that they're not giving anybody anything actionable to do, although they can still kind of radicalize people into just being like, well, maybe I should do something violent, and that's certainly an issue. But it's very interesting because it's a strange thing where they talk like the people in the audience do anything other than just sit at home and watch Fox News. It's a very interesting sort of thing. No solutions are proposed, of course. Thanks to Dante721 for the Twitch Prime subscription. You are number 69 today. If we get to 100, and we're getting close, we will open phone lines. Let's look at what is next on the agenda. Next on the agenda is 87,000 pink slips. I presume that would be about the IRS. Crimson Watch says via Super Chat, seems like the stage design has gone back to a more traditional Americana theme. save the Odal runes and burning cross motifs for another year. Yeah, they seem to have backed off of that at least a little bit. Big thank you to Christopher Stewart, who just signed up on my website with the coupon code CPAC Trash. CPAC Trash is today's coupon code. Let's see if we can squeeze in a couple more voicemails. Let's see what we've got here.
I noticed that Hollywood during the Holocaust joined Germany, which is like kind of like in cahoots with Russia.
Nope, we're getting the hell away from that. Let's see what else I have here.
Hey, David, just a really important issue. I listen to all my podcasts at 1.5 speed, and your intro music, it's just something else, man.
Okay. I don't know what the hell that was. That was very, very weird. I wish I had like some voicemails to play for you that made even a semblance, an iota of sense. But there really isn't. All right, let's see what's going on here. I think this is the last sort of like trash panel before they get to like the real content.
2 more days to go, right? Okay, well, let's join in this conversation. I've got with me Chris Ruddy, who runs news.
Let me just refresh real quick because the audio is out of sync. Okay, this is the guy who privately messages me and tells me he likes the David Pakman Show. He's the CEO of Newsmax.
Stations, and you have about 25 million viewers, according to Nielsen.
According to Nielsen, but people may remember Newsmax started as a website in 1998.
Right.
I had been a journalist covering the Clintons nationally at the New York Post.
Imagine if they just put the David Pakman Show on Newsmax, like totally out of context. There's just like this 1 hour of progressive commentary.
In the 90s, so I started Newsmax, and we had tremendous growth over the years, and then about 2014 to 16, we decided to launch a cable and streaming news channel called Newsmax, and I'm glad to report we're the 4th highest rated cable news channel in the United States now.
Now understand how deceptive that is. It's like there's MSNBC, Fox, and CNN, and then it's like there's Newsmax. What he's saying is one of those things that's technically true, but quite deceptive.
They don't watch Fox or CNN anymore. They can't. They don't get it. And they're on these devices like Samsung and Pluto and Zumo. So we're, for the moment, on both. Eventually, we're going to have 2 channels, Newsmax 1 and Newsmax 2. But it's been a very exciting, and it's really...
Hey, you know what would be funny, actually? I should start a campaign for my audience to contact Newsmax and just ask them to carry the David Pakman Show. Not with any insults or like just completely out of context. And it would probably get back to Ruddy. And he would probably just be kind of confused. Like it wouldn't even really, it would just be just to confuse him.
First being made in this area.
Well, I hope so. You know, it was a little bit of shock to us because we've been around for over 5 years now. We're on every major cable system. Last year, we renewed with hundreds of cable systems, including Dish and Verizon. And then DirecTV, we could not come to agreement. They removed us on January 24th. We went dark on 13 million homes. They're a huge market share player. Now, as you know, AT&T owns a significant portion of DirecTV, and they had removed the One America channel last year. A popular conservative channel, didn't have the ratings we had, but very popular. And our view was that it was censorship. Now, they say very differently that it wasn't, that they want more conservative voices. They've added a conservative commentary channel. When we heard that, we said, great, that's good, have more voices. The nice thing is, about 2 weeks ago, they announced that they would consider bringing Newsmax back on, and they are working, I think, to that end. We're hopeful that we can come to some agreement. It's not for sure, but I think both parties would like to do it, and I think it would be a great testament to them and the diversity of voices that they're having.
That's right. Because there's a lot of left-leaning channels on DirecTV. Don't you think DirecTV should reinstate Newsmax?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. CPAC got involved in this fight as well in sending a letter to AT&T and DirecTV and the board basically saying, look, don't silent conservatives. We need more diversity in terms of our content.
The liberals and the left basically own everything in the media world. And if you look at not just DirecTV, but most cable systems, they're by any number, at least a dozen, 24 liberal news and information channels. Even the comedy channel is liberal news for millennials. That's kids believe that it's news when they tune in. And now they're down to
people who watch Newsmax think that's news. So what?
Fox, in my mind, has been good, but we can't rely. Why should the left have so many news choices, but conservatives only have one?
Yeah.
And Fox, let's admit it, is changing. And it's good to have more voices. And I think Newsmax plays a very critical role in offering those.
I think it's healthy, and people should have more options. This is what American consumers deserve. When we talk about censorship involving conservatives, how serious do you think it is, especially when you're looking at the big tech world and in essence where many conservatives feel like their voices are not being heard?
We are in a 1 minute to midnight situation in this country where voices and conservative voices are being closed down.
Yeah. There's almost no conservative media left, guys. I know you wouldn't know it from everything you see, but it's about to be obliterated. There won't be anything left.
So powerful because of a law Congress passed in '96 when the internet was very small, the Communications Decency Act, and it had a rule called Section 230. And basically, it gives social media and these big companies like Google the ability to mint money because those companies are excluded from lawsuits. You're not excluded from lawsuits. I'm not. None of you are. But imagine you had a...
This is so deceptive. Now, reasonable people can disagree about Section 230. It's not that Google can't be sued. All Section 230 relates to is, if I post a video on YouTube making violent threats, for example, YouTube can't be sued because of what I said, even though I uploaded it to their platform. That's all that means. If someone posts a defamatory tweet, you can't sue Twitter for defamation. You can go after the person who put up the tweet. You can say that should be the case or it shouldn't be the case, but to pretend that the companies are immune from lawsuits, it relates to a very narrow aspect of it, and it's extraordinarily deceptive what he said.
Masks are effective in combating COVID. The scientific evidence actually supports his view that there's limited effectiveness. YouTube banned us for 7 days, and they said they would permanently ban us if we ever did one more mistake like that. He's a medical doctor, he's a U.S. senator, and he had an opinion that had some scientific...
Who's he talking about? Rand Paul?
They're supposed to be a neutral platform, not a publisher. They act like a publisher. They should be treated like a publisher. 230 should be eliminated. I hope the Supreme Court...
Yes.
There's no reform to 230. It can't be reformed because they will always find an excuse to break the rules with it. They created a special class of speech that never existed. It's not constitutional. I hope the High Court in these recent cases throws it out.
Well, let me ask you this. There's something called the Global Disinformation Index and NewsGuard that I've learned about, that they're supposedly independent and neutral. Last time I checked, they seem incredibly liberal, and I really want Chris to explain what they are, because it's scary, and I really think conservatives should be concerned.
Well, a lot of this starts out of the fact-checking movement. All of these liberal groups started creating fact-checkers, and all the conservative facts are wrong, and all the liberal facts are right.
So that's kind of interesting.
So we've seen that. And so then they decided, you know what, why don't we create these independent monitoring agencies? We'll rate sites. All the liberal sites like CNN and New York Times get great scores no matter what they do. Think about what CNN did, all the problems and the scandals, the Cuomos, the Russian collusion, and they're among the most highest rated by NewsGuard.
Right, you get the real truth on Newsmax.
He's been in the media business, longtime Democratic donor. We find out a number of the people work there, former Democratic operatives. They're rating conservative sites like Newsmax and Washington Times, PragerU. We all get low ratings. Okay, that's their opinion. But these big ad agencies, giant agencies, are now using them to block conservatives from getting advertising revenue.
A lot of whining going on here, guys. This entire thing is whining.
The Defense Department, we're funding these groups. You are funding these liberal rating groups. And what they're trying to do is demonetize conservative media. And it's a threat to our constitutional freedoms. And in fact, we have a story on Newsmax today that Jimmy Petronas, the head of the CFO,
hell of a story,
saying you can't use ESG in the state of Florida to close down conservative media.
Well, it looks like Congress should look into this as well. And quite frankly, Schlatt, we might think about a media monitoring rating system at CPAC. I'm kind of liking this idea. But let me ask you, Chris, you know, obviously the left-wing media, they are salivating over this Dominion voting system lawsuit against Fox, and also
it's not about salivating. It's like maybe there will be some accountability.
It's a sensitive subject, right? We're being sued for $1.6 billion. I don't know where they came up with that number. And Fox is being sued for that amount. And if you look at the facts of the case, even all of these salacious emails and texts that came out of the Fox suit, you may have heard about it. What it showed was that Fox was a news organization, a big news organization where on a controversial news subject, there were disagreements among the staff about.
That's not what it showed. That's not what it showed. What it showed is that despite claiming to be news, they put stuff out for its entertainment value, not for its newsworthiness, because they knew they were putting out lies.
His host to have an opinion, even if it might have been different from his. So actually, you know, I know a lot of people like to criticize Fox these days, but I think that what these texts showed to me was there was a dynamic in there. Fox can show you, just like Newsmax, that, so what we're being sued for is that we reported what President Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and the campaign officials were alleging about that election.
Nope, that's not true. It's that they continued to welcome and completely uncritically air the claims of people like Sidney Powell and others that were obviously untrue, including allegedly defamatory claims about Dominion's involvement. That is not just saying Trump thinks he won.
And why, when they did the Russian collusion story, where they made countless allegations against President Trump, nobody, and they were all found to be false, nobody said CNN and MSNBC. In fact, there's been no accountability for what they did. I think our statement of facts in this case are very strong. I think Fox's statement of account, if we were not in a Delaware court, small state, liberal Democratic state, the Biden family's close with everybody there. If we were
oh, that is genius. You know, there are so many reasons why so many corporations are either based in Delaware or contracts agree to be subject to arbitration in Delaware that have nothing to do with Biden. And it just so happens Biden's from Delaware. And so he slips that in. Biden being from Delaware has nothing to do with the entire Delaware corporate industrial complex that exists.
Covering the election. It's always a fun, we always call it the Super Bowl for us, and it's already started. And Donald Trump adds a tremendous amount of electricity. I think he's coming here on Saturday, so it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've known Donald Trump since 1999, and I see him all the time because I live down in Florida, not far from him. I've been a member of his club, and I'm a great friend of his, even though we don't agree on everything, and I certainly don't agree on every approach he takes to everything. But I do respect his tenacity and
all right. Anyway, I'm aware that the audio's off. We just are having an issue with some of the other streams. Let's see if this one's better.
Next year. How do you
better.
expect Newsmax to cover the presidential election?
Well, we're really excited about covering the election. It's always a fun, we always call it the Super Bowl for us, and it's already started. And Donald Trump adds a tremendous...
All right, so this one's on a little bit of a delay. All right, so we're starting to get into the marginally more interesting stuff, which is fine. Thanks to Lisis, Weatherboxer, and Mitter Binion for the Twitch Prime subscriptions, putting us at 73. Also, big thank you to Rebecca Hayes, as well as Juan, the Trollman, each gifting a subscription, putting us at 75. Folks, we are 3/4 of the way there. The goal is 100, and we will open phone lines when we get there. Coming up next here is, so I guess So this seems to be that instead of Matt Schlapp, they replaced him with his wife Mercedes Schlapp for the Chris Ruddy interview. So it looks like Mike Pompeo will be next, then Eric Schmitt, and then Candace Owens. Maybe they're running about 25 to 30 minutes behind is the sense that I get, but we're getting into the sort of like prime events today. And, you know, prime is certainly in the eye of the beholder. Brian Hovey just signed up at joinpacman.com and is new member number 76.
Trump, so they backed Jeb Bush, Rubio, and Kasich to try to stop him. They now have other candidates they're looking at, apparently, and that's their prerogative. But I personally believe that the best for the country is for the voters to have both sides, and then you to make an informed decision rather than me sort of picking a candidate that I like. And I think the network, if you look at Newsmax, we get accused of all sorts of things. I think we're one of the most balanced networks out there because we're always trying to get like the other side.
What on earth is he talking about?
Bill Buckley used to say this.
It's an overtly right-wing conspiracy network.
As admiring Bill Buckley, he said conservatives don't need to own the media. All we need is a fair shake where you get both sides, because 80% of the time the public's going to side with us.
Obviously, that's completely untrue. We know that the public has abandoned the right on abortion, on gay marriage, on taxes, on climate, on all these different issues.
Thank you, Mercedes. Thank you, Matt.
Absolutely.
And I just want to give one shout out. Ted Cruz has been a tremendous supporter of Newsmax. We appreciate it. Jim Comer on the House side.
That's right.
The music's on.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Seeming like a pretty damn weak crowd, I have to tell you. Is it just me, or is CPAC particularly pathetic this time around? I don't know. It's something weird is going on. Blueberry Babe has resubscribed and gifted 2 subscriptions on Twitch, which I very much appreciate. Very, very much appreciate. Let's see if I have anything else voicemail-wise. Let me see what I have. I really don't have good voicemails to play for you. I'm sorry. Oh, they're already going to the next thing. Let's see. Is this Pompeo?
Thank you.
What is this?
Thank you. Well, this is the most exciting part of the day. We get to do taxes and economics at the same time.
Oh, right.
You know, I gotta set the record straight though. And by the way, I'm Kevin Hassett. This is Jason Smith, in case you didn't know, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee.
This could be the biggest dud of the day.
Right now, I would say, as much as Kevin McCarthy, because you've got so many fights to fight. But I want to set the record straight to start with, that a lot of people say that Joe Biden's policies are not going to create any jobs. But it's not true. As an economist, I can tell you that he has an $80 billion bill that creates 87,000 jobs for the IRS. And if you look at the details...
All right, I'll take this opportunity to take a 5 while we watch this, then we'll be back and carry through to the end, including, of course, the world-famous Candace Owens.
Information about you from wherever, from your Facebook page, wherever, combining it with your tax data so that they can go around and audit, every American. It's Big Brother on steroids. Well, I've noticed, Jason, that you disagree with this policy and that you've been trying to stand up to it. I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit.
I would say I more than disagree with this policy. It's great to be with a bunch of conservatives, right? You have definitely raised the IQ level in Washington, D.C. by just being here. So we are grateful that you're here. 87,000 IRS employees, agents, whatever you want to call it. Joe Biden has been pushing this policy since his very first president's budget. His very first president's budget, he highlighted that he wanted $80 billion of new money to hire 87,000 IRS employees. But he also put in there that he wanted to do what I refer to as the bank snooping bill. And that is, if there's an amount of 10,000 or more inflow or outflow of your bank account, it's going to be reported to the IRS. It's all about government command and control over your lives is what this administration and what the Democrat Party is trying to do, to just be completely honest. And so the Ways and Means Committee has not been a committee known for oversight, but the very first bill that we did from our committee was to eliminate that $80 billion. That was the first bill we did in the entire House of Representatives. But we got to keep up the drumbeat, because the Ways and Means Committee has jurisdiction over the IRS. And my first week as chairman, I set up this whistleblower hotline that any employee of the IRS could contact us and let us know if there's something they think we should be looking into that may not just be right, that they don't feel comfortable to tell the folks at the top. We've been getting some good stuff, I will just tell you. And so stay tuned, because our committee, we're going to be very aggressive on oversight, and we're going to expose what this administration is trying to do in targeting real Americans. And that is not going to be stood for in this Congress. We are going to be pushing back tooth and nail, I can tell you that.
You know, thank you so much for that. And we were talking backstage that when Hillary Clinton first went into the White House as First Lady, one of the things she did is she asked the IRS to give her the tax returns of the Clintons' enemies. This is public. And she got them. And more recently, your colleagues decided to release the tax return for a former president. The IRS has been hacked over and over, so that probably most people in this room, you know, the Russians and the Chinese have their tax data. And ProPublica has been writing articles about the tax returns of private citizens. What are you doing to stop that?
We have already started the investigation. Over 19 months ago, there was a leak of almost 1,000 taxpayers' information by ProPublica. It came from somewhere, and still we've heard crickets from the IRS of how did this leak happen? It just happened to be the same time, within the same week this administration was trying to push tax increases on those same 1,000 people, that their tax returns were released. But it's not just that. There was 113,000 taxpayers' retirement information that was posted on a website by the IRS. And then they figured out they did it wrong after 8 months and took it down and was supposed to rework it so there wasn't confidential information, and they posted the same thing again, twice. If you have that kind of disrespect for people's private tax information and retirement information, there's a problem at the IRS. And we got to figure that out.
That's right. And one of the problems that you could actually, if you go to the IRS website and look at it, one of the problems is that because they're trying to rake in as much cash as they can from everybody, they share information with foreign governments. And so in 2021, the IRS shared the tax information of Americans with foreign governments or other entities in the government 27 billion times. 27 billion times. And so this is a problem that, you know, thank goodness that you're on the case. But another thing that you've done recently that I've noticed that really fills my heart with joy is that there was an article in Politico, if I remember correctly, that said that that when you came in and you announced that you're going to put the American people and blue-collar workers first, that it sent all the lobbyists in Washington into a tizzy. I'm quoting. And so I think that you should put that on your tombstone. I hope it's a long ways off. But I'm so proud of you for putting lobbyists in a tizzy.
Put K Street on a tizzy.
Yeah, but how did you put them on a tizzy? And what does it mean that they're in a tizzy?
You know, it's crazy that it's news that if a member of Congress or a chairman of a committee is going to prioritize the working class, small businesses and farmers as their top priorities when they're developing policies when it comes to tax, trade, and healthcare, why does that make these lobbyists in a tizzy? That tells you exactly how broken Washington, D.C. is. I mean, that is how broken it is. And the place that I represent is God's country. I know we all live in God's country, but Southeast Missouri, Cape Girardeau, home of Rush Limbaugh, you might have all heard of him. So,
is this the most electric panel tonight or what?
Had to have him from our great area, and I was raised the same way he was, you know, from a working class background, and And that's who I represent. And we need to make sure our policies up here are reflected to deliver for working class families.
So the one thing I want to say, though, is that I live in D.C., and I consider D.C. God's country, too. We D.C. residents are not the problem.
I think we might disagree with
I'm just saying, we D.C. residents are not the problem.
This is really, really, really bad. So I think they kind of flip-flopped a couple of these panels. So I believe that next would be Pompeo, that's going to be like 40 to 45 minutes behind. Then it's Eric Schmitt, and then Candace Owens. So maybe they'll end at like 6:45 or something like that. I don't know. I mean, they're falling further and further behind, and not because they have something really interesting or special going on.
Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer did a very good job during the 2 years that they were one-party control of doing everything wrong. That's exactly what they were doing. Every policy that they made was the wrong policy for our country. Right. In those 2 years, they added more than $10 trillion of new spending. That's not even counting the spending to fund government and keep the lights on. This was just on top of it. 10 trillion. And when you think about it from that perspective, and what did you get for it?
Very muted crowd reaction to that, as you can tell. Thanks to Jeremy Ranch and AJ the Greater for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. Folks, we are within striking distance of 100. What's on? Yeah, I did want to talk a little bit about the schedule tomorrow so we can figure out when the stream should be. There is some interesting stuff in the morning. So in the morning, they've got Sebastian Gorka, which should be kind of interesting. Marjorie Taylor Greene is speaking at 10 a.m. Eastern. Matt Gaetz at 10:30, Sean Spicer at 10:40, and then Guilfoyle at 11:35, Don Jr. at 11:45. Like, that's all pretty wacky, interesting stuff. I just don't know if I can do the morning. I have to see what's going on with my schedule. Then later in the afternoon, it gets crazy. Also, you've got Nikki Haley, Lara Trump, Pompeo again, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know why he's going to be back. And what else do we have? Wayne LaPierre, Francis Suarez, Vivek Ramaswamy, Steve Bannon, Nigel Farage. You know, I think I may end up having to do like basically Bannon and Farage, but then we can look at clips from earlier. Because everything's all spread out throughout the day. So we'll see. We'll see how tomorrow goes essentially. And then kind of go from there. A couple other voicemails. I'm really trying here to play voicemails for people, but they're just, I've got 730 voicemails I haven't listened to, and they're seeming very, very mediocre.
David Parkman. My name is Asa, A-S-A. I just want to respond to your recession comment, and anybody with any political experience, forget about financial opinions, because they really don't, they're not going to get it right. About it. But I'm going to get it right now, I guarantee you. 6 months before the presidential election, you can guarantee it. The big money people will start pulling their money out, just like when Biden announced he had 200,000 more jobs last month. Dude. Elon Musk lays off 200,000 people, just to show you the power of the money side. And I guarantee you, because at one level or another, that's when you're going to see it. Because
listen, Elon Musk's Tesla has 120,000 employees, so how he would lay off 200,000 employees is a mathematical quandary. SP Bennis says via Super Chat, if it comes down to a bitter Trump versus DeSantis showdown, should DeSantis emphasize Trump's role in the insurrection? Would it gain or lose on the fence Republican voters? I think that's very risky for DeSantis. I'd be curious to see what people in the crowd say. But I think that would be very, very risky for DeSantis to do. You really don't know how these lunatics are going to react.
It's called the State of America's Economy in the Heartland. The best solutions are not in Washington. The best solution amongst the entire American public. And so that is the policies we're developing to deliver for working class families, small businesses, and farmers. And that is exactly what will will make our country even stronger. We are the backbone of the economy is the hardworking everyday American. And so the policies that we're going to do in tax policy is going to be crafted from going to Petersburg, to Oklahoma City, and then other places. And they will be policies that I know that will help bring back our strategic supply chains. We should not be dependent on China for our pharmaceuticals, or for our food security, or for our energy security, critical minerals.
Mexico
and we need to use tax and trade policies to make sure that if we cannot produce those items in our country, it needs to be in countries that are our friends.
Even like the host dude is bored with this nonsense. It's almost sad how pathetic this CPAC is. Almost. Badger says, we have some lunatics over the pond. Please cover Farage. Greetings from the UK. Yeah, I'm going to the UK in a few weeks. I mean, actually, I haven't been for a while. I'm excited to be back. Let's see what else we've got. Lot of see if I can find an interesting voicemail for folks here. Let's see.
Hey, David, it's James. I'm calling about your tweet from it was like a couple weeks ago about how you are receiving different messages saying stop pushing Judaism onto people. First of all, I have no reason to believe that you're doing that. But then you went on to say something to the effect of there's no proselytizing allowed in Judaism.
It's not there's no proselytizing allowed. There's just no proselytizing in Judaism.
But I know a lot of Jewish people who have one parent who couldn't marry, who have one parent that was Jewish.
Yeah.
And they couldn't marry the non-Jewish parent unless the non-Jewish parent converted to Judaism.
Okay.
So wouldn't that be a form of proselytization?
No. And in fact, if you go to a rabbi and if you say, I want to convert, you will very quickly see, based on the rabbi's reaction, how it is not proselytizing. All right. Let's see what else we've got here.
Hey, Dave, if we ever thought Kirsten Sinema was ever full of crap pretending to be a Democrat, the second that the Democrats have power and her one vote has no more power, she opts to be an independent immediately. As soon as they lose, she's an independent. As soon as she has no more power, she's an independent to give herself power again. It's so fake and obvious. This woman's disgusting, right? Is Joe Manchin going to do the same thing? Dave, why did she do this? Explain. Shalom.
All right. Well, we've talked about that extensively.
Mr. Pac-Man, sir, I think you're making a big mistake when it comes to trying to get those 3 million people to subscribe, because you forget that a lot of them might be hate watchers. So you need to find a way to get the hate watchers to also subscribe.
No. I don't need. So what this caller is referring to is, we have what's the number? Let's see what the number is here. Hold on. This is the number of YouTube subscribers that we have right now. Okay. And one of the statistical realities is that every month, somewhere between 2 and 4 million different people who are not subscribed watch my clips. Okay. So when I say, hey, it would be great if a bunch of those people did subscribe, I'm aware that a lot of people are hate watching. Like, I'm completely aware of that. I'm talking about the ones that aren't. If you figure, even if half the people are hate watchers, if 3 million people who aren't subscribed are watching every month, you've got 1.5 million who aren't hate watchers. Okay. If it's 50%. So that's who I'm talking to. Forget about the hate watchers. You don't need them, sir. You just don't need them. Okay, let's see if we've got anything else here of note. Oh, what's next? Let's see. So I think now Mike Pompeo is next. We'll see very soon. We'll see very, very soon. But it's the schedule is all screwy. It really is. Am I opening phone lines? Okay. I'll say it just once more. If we get to 100 website members and Twitch subscribers, we're at 81. Okay, we're at 81. If we get to 100, I'll open phone lines. You can use the coupon code CPAC Trash for a discount. Okay? Let's see if I can squeeze in like one more voicemail.
Hey, Pack Boy, just wanted to say you're a beta male. Trump 2024, Biden prison 2024, and yeah, that's it. Later.
Okay. Let's see what else we've got.
Hey, David, it's Tommy. I don't know how relevant this is or not, but I notice you say with peace and love a lot, usually when asking us listeners for things or whatnot.
Well, usually when I'm kind of saying something a little negative.
It kind of reminds me of the time Ringo Starr had stopped wanting to get things autographed. So he was saying with peace and love, please do not send anything after whatever date. Just kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah, that's right. I got it from Ringo Starr. That's exactly right. Megwine with a $22.22 super chat says, Hola, Señor David. Hello, David, sir. Love the show. Sending well wishes for you and the fam. Avec pluie de les yeux. I think that means with tears in my eyes. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you to Sterling Lana for gifting 2 subscriptions via Twitch Prime, as we are moments away, I think, from Mike Pompeo's speech, although we never really know because the schedule is just a mess. It's backwards constantly, and who the hell knows what it is that is going on. Let's see what else I've got here as far as voicemails go. Is there anything even remotely interesting here? Tucker Carlson, something or other, something about pillow. I don't know.
Hi, David. Doug from South Dakota. I was watching your clip about Tucker Carlson and mutilating children, etc.
Yeah.
Why hasn't anybody pushed back against the religious bigotry and used circumcision as an alternative talking point? Circumcision is mutilating the genitalia of children.
I don't think that that's big with a lot of people, so I think that's why it's not being used. All right, here is, who the hell is this?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be with you here today. It's incredible to be with so many freedom-loving patriots from all across the country to come together for a very, very important mission here at CPAC, to save America.
Right.
To fight for our values that we hold dear, to dislodge the weaponized bureaucrats from our lives, to fight for the forgotten men and women of this country, those hardworking Americans who play by the rules and provide for their families. I see you, I hear you, and I understand your frustration and your desire to pass along an America that stands for freedom and opportunity. And I want you to know that I'm with you in this fight, and in the United States Senate, we'll fight for you every single day.
Oh, wait a second. Is this, I guess this is Eric Schmitt, right? So they skipped Pompeo? Who knows what's going on? I really have no idea what's happening.
He has crushed hardworking Americans. Families are paying $10,000 more a year than they were just 2 years ago because of this reckless administration. Joe Biden has declared war on American energy. Truck drivers are struggling to make ends meet with the rising price of diesel. Farmers and ranchers are at risk of being denied loans because they have too many diesel vehicles. Massive corporations are pushing woke policies on us and in our kids. Some of those same companies are holding your retirement savings hostage by incorporating ESG into their investments to virtue signal and appease climate alarmists. The Biden administration has weaponized the FBI, DOJ, and other law enforcement agencies against conservatives. Every agency under the sun is now using taxpayer-funded dollars to push divisive, DEI trainings. China is rattling their saber, preparing for war. And Biden looks weak on the world stage, even letting a Chinese...
He really doesn't. Any poll you look at actually shows Biden being perceived as dramatically stronger than Trump on the world stage. Like, not even close. Just not even remotely close.
And for Americans across this country. And I plan to continue to push back on these woke policies and reckless spending, and we can and should be energy dominant again.
All right.
We can't
Is
let
there anyone there?
And in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, we must recognize the biggest threat to our freedoms is found in the administrative state.
Oh, God.
That is a
3 people clapping for that
term, but it is a grave threat to your livelihood and to the very future of self-government. Unelected bureaucrats at all levels of government have
This is Bannon's routine. This is Steve Bannon's routine, vocabulary, everything.
They're simply not accountable to you at all. They want to tell you that you can't use a gas stove to cook dinner for your family.
No one's telling you that.
A dry creek bed or a drainage ditch on a farm because of climate alarmism. They want to tell you you can't have firearms to defend yourself. They want to coordinate with social media companies to censor your speech because it doesn't fit the quote narrative or the quote unquote science. And that, ladies and gentlemen, should scare the hell out of everybody in this room. When I served as Missouri's Attorney General before I had this job, I never shied away from the fight. I filed a landmark lawsuit that I'm sure some of you have heard of, Missouri versus Biden.
No, I haven't heard of it.
And we also had that student loan debt case before the Supreme Court that we're going to win too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
We sued the Biden administration and the FBI and HHS and other alphabet agencies for colluding with social media giants to censor freedom of speech on their platforms. And what we found, folks, was unbelievable. It's still coming out. We found that there was direct, blatant, and brazen coordination between the federal government and social media companies. On one occasion,
and it was the Trump administration trying to do the coordination.
And then pledged to censor speech on COVID-19 more stringently. Government agencies had special portals to quickly report posts they disagreed with. Prominent conservatives...
Yes, the Trump government.
...in their crosshairs. We deposed Anthony Fauci and demanded answers for the lives and livelihoods that he ruined.
What?
And in the middle of that deposition, I kid you not, a court reporter sneezed. What did Anthony Fauci do? He demanded that she wear a mask. I'm not making this up. This was just a couple of months ago.
Sounds interesting.
And this is the temperament, by the way, of the guy who was in charge of all of this, who wanted power and control, the guy who proclaimed that he was the science. And when he was privately messaged in an email we confronted him with by a colleague in early 2020 about whether she should wear a mask on a plane or not, he said they were ineffective. But for the rest of us, we were required to wear them on planes. And our kids had to wear masks in schools all day long, all across this country. And the takeaway from that deposition was, when Fauci speaks, big tech censored. And this can never happen again, and not on my watch. We will never let them forget what they did to us and did to this great country. We also deposed FBI agent Elvis Chan. He told us that the FBI had monthly, then weekly meetings with social media companies in the run-up to the 2020 election to warn them about Russian hack and leak operations, and one of them could be the Hunter Biden laptop. They were priming the social media companies to be ready to censor when the story inevitably came out. The FBI had the laptop. They knew it was real and authentic, and yet they held these meetings anyways. And the social media companies were all too happy to carry out their orders. That is pure and utter insanity. Further, If they can ban, by the way, the President of the United States, President Trump, imagine what they can do to you.
And
I have a quick question for the folks in this audience that took a quick poll. How many people in this room have been censored on social media? That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And by the way, you are exactly why I fought so hard against censorship in that lawsuit. We, conservatives, the people in this room, we have to be the guardians of free speech. That is our mission. That is our call.
Okay.
If you control the flow of information and limit speech, you can control people. And that's exactly what their aim is: power and control. That's what mask mandates were all about.
Oh, no.
First Attorney General in the country to file a lawsuit against OSHA's unlawful vaccine mandate. We took it to the Supreme Court and we won.
Now they're clapping.
I was proud to be one of the leaders in pushing back against COVID tyranny as Attorney General, and my pledge to you is to be one of the leading senators in this country.
Does anybody remember COVID tyranny?
State. We're going to pry power and control away from elected bureaucrats and return it to we, the people. You and you alone should have the freedom to decide what's best for you and your family, not an unelected bureaucrat who works for an agency you've never heard of. And I'll be honest here, I'm the new guy in the Senate. I've been here for about 2 months, but I can tell you that I'll work hard every single day to claw power away from the government and give it back to you where it belongs.
This is everything that's wrong with the American political space. People like this.
All over and let Biden weaponize federal agencies, woke corporations, and big tech companies dictate what we say and what we do, or we can stand up and we can fight back for the freedoms that so many have shed blood for. I don't know about you, but I'm here and I am ready to help lead that fight.
Right.
I want you to know I won't back down.
I wish he would back down.
I won't be intimidated. This is the fight. Let's win it together. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
And God bless the United States.
So either we now have Mike Pompeo followed by Candace Owens, or Pompeo isn't speaking after all, and it'll be just Candace Owens, and then that'll be it for today. Remains to be seen. We are getting, Dan Norberg just signed up on my website using the coupon code CPAC Trash. It is Candace Owens next. Maybe Pompeo is canceled. Let's see what happens.
Hello.
Maybe she'll talk to us about breeding for math.
Thank you so much.
Is anyone even clapping?
First and foremost, I just want to thank you guys for having me back. It's always such an honor to speak on this stage, and I was thinking about it today, and unbelievably, I've spoken at CPAC 5 times. It seems to have gone by so fast. They've always welcomed me, Mercedes and Matt Schlapp, and I'm just so grateful for that opportunity. And I was thinking,
and I really don't believe that Schlapp pummeled anybody's junk.
Has changed since 5 years ago, how much all of our lives have changed since 5 years ago, how much the global conversation has changed. Nobody could have fathomed 5 years ago. The COVID era, nobody could have fathomed so much global governance taking place. But I think the biggest changes in my life obviously have taken place on a personal level. I think about flying around the world, traveling with Charlie Kirk when I first started, and now I'm a married mother of 2 children, which is the best part of life beginning for me. And so much changes when you become a parent. You hear it all the time, and it's so correct. And I think what really changes is your understanding of what matters in the world. You know, you look at your children, you look at your family, and you understand that this is what really matters. But in the same vein, you could say that you also understand what doesn't matter, what's not important. And then you also understand what can't matter. And I want to talk about that for a little bit, because when I say what can't matter, I'm talking about matter as a word, as a substance, existence of something, things that cannot materialize. I have this thought all the time. I'm so preoccupied with thinking about things that cannot materialize now that my children are in this world, because the fight now seems so much more important. The battles now, we are deciding upon the future for our children, for my children, and I've never...
This is a hell of a word salad.
I wanted to first share with you something that a colleague of mine posted, Matt Walsh. He posted this onto his Twitter yesterday, actually, and I was really struck by it because I've read things like it from the past, and I think it really serves a reminder for everyone in this room as to where we are today in America. This is the passage. It was written during the Civil War, and this is a letter to a loved one from a soldier, an infantryman in Pennsylvania. He writes, "Under the dark shade of a towering oak near the Dunker Church lay the lifeless form of a drummer boy, apparently not more than 17 years of age, flaxen hair and eyes of blue, and form of delicate mold. As I approached him, I stooped down, and as I did so, I perceived a bloody mark upon his forehead. It showed where the leaden messenger of death had produced the wound that caused his death. His lips were compressed, his eyes half open. A bright smile played upon his countenance. By his side lay his tenor drum, never to be tapped again." So again, to provide that context, this was written as just a letter to a loved one from an 18-year-old soldier. And why Matt was struck by this passage and why I have been similarly stricken by passages like it, reading these letters that just soldiers, 18-year-old, 17-year-old boys were writing back home, is how poetic and how beautiful it is. This is not written by somebody with a formal education. It's written by an 18-year-old just saying, this is what I'm seeing on the battlefield. And yet it reads like haunting poetry.
What's being ignored is that the culture of reading and literacy in the first generations to come to the United States, what became the United States, are dramatically different. So it wasn't formal education. Well, but the culture at the time was so dramatically different. I mean, it's just a meaningless analogy in comparison.
This is not a stunning example. This is not a person that was exceptional. This was your average 18-year-old during the Civil War. So what's happened in American society today? We've given out so many degrees. We actually, as a fact, have never given out more degrees. And yet, from an IQ perspective, we have never produced students that are this dumb.
Oh my God, she's like all about eugenics now. By the way, it would make sense that the more people there are in the country, the more degrees we would give out. Kind of makes sense.
You have to ask yourself why or how that is. Also, the emergence at the university level of what Thomas Sowell refers to as soft subjects, right? People that are receiving all of these degrees, but getting them in bizarre subjects like gender studies. What is that? What do you do for 4 years when you major in gender studies? What do you do when you graduate with a degree in gender studies? Here, I'll ask you guys a question. Have you ever, at any moment in your entire life, I want you to think of every single moment in your life, have you ever, in a time of trouble, or if you just had a basic question, have you ever said, man, I really need a gender studies major right now to sort through this? I'm going to guess the answer's no.
I think that there are some fair criticisms of gender studies. I don't think this is necessarily it. And I don't know that the context in which she's making it is good faith.
College, and they have mounds and mounds of debt. And so you laugh at these bizarre subjects that you're seeing that are popping up, so many different bizarre ones just like that. And yet these kids leave with their degree, and they are the most egotistical, conceited children that you've ever seen, certain that their degree means something until they're smacked in the face with the real world, until they realize that it's not just the people in this room that laugh at gender studies majors, it's everybody. Nobody needs you, right? And then that person that spent all of that money and has all this debt and now has met the real world and realizes that they're not needed becomes a very angry individual. And let me tell you something, there is no person that is more dangerous than an angry person that perceives their own intellect, that believes that the world owes them something. Because how could these high school kids that didn't go on to college and just learned how to fix ACs, how are they making more money than me, is what this person thinks, right? I have a degree in gender studies. How is Joe from my class back in middle school making more money and running a business? Oh, I don't know, because personally for me, I live in Tennessee. Let me tell you something about Joe from middle school class if he's running a business. when the AC goes out, I will pay any amount of money for that person to come and fix an AC. Because he has a real skill, and real skills are needed in a free market society. We will pay for people with.
You know, I think, so the fair criticism of gender studies is basically twofold. There are questions about the utility of it in the job market, but that's a practical thing. And also questions about the prudency of going into student loan debt in order to achieve such a degree on that basis. But this whole thing of like, you know, I'm never like my car. When's the last time your car broke down and you needed a gender studies major? You can kind of ask that question about a ton of different subjects. And to be perfectly honest, you can ask them in that situation about even hard sciences as well. Like, when's the last time as an emergency you needed a chemical engineer? Well, no, because they work in ways that don't directly touch your day-to-day experience. And of course, you could say the same thing about when did you fall down and need a sociologist or whatever? Hey, what about math? When did you last call someone and say, I need Calc 2 right away? It's a very weak criticism.
And they become angry and they become dangerous. And if you look back at the last 100 years in American society, there's evidence for that everywhere. True evil that has taken place in American society is always being thought up on a university campus. It's the academics and their solutions to problems, right? They come up with horrible ideas, like during the progressive era, they came up with eugenics. They thought up Jim Crow. These people
eugenics, which she's been promoting for the last week.
In classrooms right now, teaching themes like transgenderism. Of course, we shouldn't respect them. They know nothing. They've done nothing. And yet they're convinced of their own superiority. One of the biggest uphill battles when I launched my YouTube channel so many years ago
was that I didn't know anything.
One critique that I was getting from journalists, aside from the fact that they thought I was a black white supremacist. These people are so smart. They're really smart, guys. They're really smart. But they kept remarking on the fact that I hadn't finished college. Like, that was what made them feel above me. Oh, Candace didn't finish university. Yes, it's true. I had to drop out in my senior year because Sallie Mae had a big collapse and my family couldn't afford it. So these elitists and their mentality mocked me for years until I eventually finished. But they mocked me and they felt better and smarter than me because they have a meaningless degree, and that makes them feel that they are of some importance.
This is really a hell of a rant, huh?
And when they get power, they understand what they can do, and why they become dangerous is that they are raising up the next generation of people that we are going to have to contend with society.
I'm feeling super inspired and motivated by this speech.
And dangerous ideas. I'll give you just a few examples of some that we are dealing with today, some things that have materialized in our society today. There is the battle of climate change, right? It's every couple of years they change. Why we're all going to die, I don't know. When I was in school, global warming, maybe when you were in school, it was global cooling. There was the ozone layer catastrophe. They told people acid rain if you're from the 70s. You know, they keep telling us we're all going to die every 10 years. We get it, right? And you wonder, why is this a focus? Why are they obsessed with making students feel this fear? Why did they make me, try to program me when I was in high school to watch Inconvenient Truth and listen to Al Gore lecture us the planet was going to be gone in 10 years unless we, of course, listened to more governance. Another one of their big ones, obviously, which I touched upon earlier, is transgenderism. Never thought we'd be here. Never thought. There's no way. I do not care if you had a crystal ball. There's no way that you could have fathomed that you would be considered a bigot if you said that men cannot be women and women cannot be men. That's crazy. You can't even...
This is really bad.
That you would be considered a bigot. I've been called a bigot for saying that only women can give birth. These things are obviously true, and yet they are teaching students. People are earning degrees in categories like transgenderism to learn that, no, actually that's not true, that there's something other than reality that you can achieve. Another category, of course, is feminism, my personal favorite. It's just rinsing women to believe that they should hate men, that they should reject men, that every problem and ill that we face in society can be described by fluffy terms like toxic masculinity, right? these women that are marching. And you look at all of these things, and I describe them as evils and things that we shouldn't laugh at. Because yes, the left is radical, but they are ever so intentional. They are Machiavellian, and they know exactly what they are doing. They know what all of these things have in common: climate change, transgenderism, feminism. We look up and we go, how? Why? What's wrong with the bathroom signs? Why? Why do they choose violence every day against random things that nobody cared about? Well, the truth is that their intentions are to go after the one thing that stands between them and absolute power, and that is the family unit. And so we revisit those topics, and I want you to remember this because it's so important. You will see it everywhere, an attack on the family unit. You revisit those categories and the things that they are raising up children to believe, and you see how it destroys families. Climate change, of course, what they tell children first and foremost is that it would be irresponsible to have big families. It would be irresponsible to have children. AOC once said that she wasn't going to have children because of planet and climate change. She thought it was irresponsible. Now listen, I am not going to fight her. Not going to fight her on that one. But think about that. Think about the fact that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were awarded with an award, a climate change award, for agreeing to only have 2 children because it's better for the planet. It's so evil, it's so sociopathic, but this is what they are awarding people for. You revisit transgenderism, and what better way to annihilate families than to annihilate bodies? You won't be able to produce families. You have men that are mutilating their bodies so that they can't reproduce. You are having women that are mutilating their bodies so that they cannot reproduce. You are having people that are confused, people that are taking so much medication after they realize, of course, that mutilating your own body does not change your sex. It does not do that. It's just you mutilating your own body. These people become enslaved by Big Pharma. They take pills to try to make themselves happy, to deal with their own...
Really high energy, guys.
...ultimately on the family. And then you look at feminism, and you look at how radical it's become, and the hatred towards men, and you see the way that women speak of men. Absolutely no respect the modern feminist has for man. And you see them confusing gender roles again, telling women that they need to be just like men. We need to go out in society. We need to climb the corporate ladder. Don't worry about your kids. The government will raise them. That's why we have the Department of Education, which, by the way, should be abolished.
She's like, we're not that good at math. Let's get rid of the Department of Education.
But you see, they understand that as they pressure women to go out and to pursue their careers, and they simultaneously tell women that they don't need a man, they are, of course, attacking the family units, because those children are no longer in 2-parent households, because at the same time their fathers, ironically, are being told to act like women. Be more sensitive, cry more, get into your feelings, right? You can be just like a woman. You can literally be a woman, right? You're telling men that any demonstration of masculinity is wrong and backwards. You're producing a society where they want men to be like dogs with their tails in between their legs. And that is because they know that there is no society that can survive without strong men, and there is no family that can survive without both strong men and strong women committed to their children.
This is really bad. Really, really bad.
That has been my biggest understanding over these last 5 years, that it is the most important topic. My husband gave a speech recently where he talked about cultivating a positive and healthy interior life, right? And I think about that often. I think about my household, and I think that the best way to effectuate change is to make sure that you are cultivating a healthy interior life. You can control what happens in your household. We need more people committed to that. A friend of mine, Jack Posobiec, says, if you want to be a rebel, start a family. I'm going to add to that and say, don't just start a family, keep a family. The interior life, your family, is of the utmost importance, but closely following that, of course, is the exterior life. And here's what I will say, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, and I mean this well. If you are somebody who believes that we need to meet and sit down and break bread with the left on these various topics to figure out how we can come together, we don't need you. We need fighters.
Yeah. What's funny is if all of these folks said we don't need the blue states, their country would literally crumble because red states are such a disaster on average.
There is no middle ground on transgenderism. There is no middle ground on child grooming. There is no middle ground on coming up with fluffy terms for pedophilia. There is no middle ground. And if you are offended because some of us have the courage to say what needs to be said, we simply don't need you. We don't need you. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I have made a career of fighting like hell. My promise to you always upon the stage. And
she's made a career of selling incorrect information to people who don't know any better.
Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Wow. Really inspiring and powerful words there from Candace Owens in a very sort of like muted room, quite frankly. All right, folks, Mike Pompeo, I don't know if he was canceled or not, but we've got a smoke detector issue going off, and so I actually have to go deal with that. So I think that this is where CPAC Day 2 coverage is going to conclude. I will be back with everybody tomorrow. We're going to hear from Steve Bannon and Nigel Farage, and it's going to be, you know, a completely disgusting mess. Thank you for joining me. There was Candace Owens. Let's really all take time to process and think through the things that she said because they were so powerful and important. And we'll see everybody tomorrow. Remember to follow on Twitch. Make sure to like on Facebook. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And we'll see everybody tomorrow.